All right, everyone, welcome in. Today we're going deep, diving into a banking scandal that's got the whole financial world kind of shook.
Yeah, definitely a big one.
We're talking about TD Bank, a huge name both here in the U.S. and up in Canada, facing some really serious money laundering accusations. And just to be clear, we're not talking about like someone forgetting a couple bucks in their pocket kind of money, right?
Oh, absolutely not. This is serious stuff, potentially billions of dollars tied up in all this, maybe even with some truly bad actors.
Okay, so let's break this down for everyone listening. What exactly is TD Bank being accused of doing wrong, and what makes this whole thing such a big deal?
So at its core, we're talking about the Bank Secrecy Act, which is all about making sure banks, big or small, aren't being used for money laundering. Basically, banks need to have really strong programs in place to catch and report any suspicious activity. And in this case, the government is saying TD Bank really dropped the ball. Like, really dropped it.
And we're not just talking about an honest mistake here, right? This is way more than just missing a few shady transactions.
You got it. See, TD Bank hasn't just gotten a fine or a slap on the wrist. They've actually gone and pleaded guilty. Conspiracy charge, no less. They're admitting they just didn't have a proper program to stop money laundering for years. And get this is the first time ever, at least in the U.S., that a bank this big has ever pleaded guilty to something like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge precedent being set here.
Wow. So they've basically admitted to knowing they weren't following the rules. I can't imagine the feds are too happy about that, to put it mildly.
Not happy at all. Merrick Garland himself, the Attorney General, he came right out and said TD Bank was basically a playground for criminals, all because they cared more about making a buck than following the law.
Yeah.
And when you look at what's come out, well, it's hard to disagree with that assessment.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty. What were they actually doing? What were the red flags they apparently just ignored?
Oh, the stories that have come out paint a pretty shocking picture, honestly. We're talking about employees, actual TD Bank staff, allegedly taking bribes, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in gift cards, just to okay these shady transactions.
Gift cards? Really? That seems like such a, I don't know, obvious way to take a bribe. You'd think they'd be a bit more subtle about it, right?
You'd think. But it gets even wilder. Customers were apparently waltzing in, depositing crazy amounts of cash, way over the daily limits, and no one batted an eye. We're talking sums of money that'd be hard to even carry, let alone deposit casually.
I can't even imagine seeing that much cash in person, let alone having it just show up at my bank.
And yet, this investigation's saying that a ridiculous 92% of TD's total transactions between 2018 and 2024 just weren't monitored. Like, at all. And get this, we're talking $18.3 trillion just floating around unchecked.
That's just, there are no words. It's like leaving the vault door wide open and acting shocked when things go missing. But someone had to have seen this happening, right? Were there any internal warnings at all?
That's the truly mind-boggling part. Some of the emails that have come out, internal TD emails, they're bad. Really bad. Employees straight up saying, hey, this looks like money laundering, and then just doing nothing about it. There's even jokes in some of them. It's really a terrible look for the bank's culture.
So they knew. They knew, but the promise of all that cash was just too tempting to resist. Sounds like a classic case of corporate greed winning out over, well, basic ethics.
Yeah, it's tough to see it any other way. And those internal warnings, those casual admissions of wrongdoing, that's what makes the fallout for TD Bank hit even harder.
Well, let's talk about that fallout then. What are we looking at here? Because I have a feeling a gentle reprimand isn't going to cut it for something this big, right?
Oh, you're definitely right about that. No gentle anything in this case. TD Bank's looking at some serious consequences, like a whole package deal designed to send a message to every other financial institution out there. First off, got to mention the money, right? Over $3 billion.
$3 billion. That's got to hurt, even for a giant like TD Bank. Is that the biggest fine ever for this kind of thing?
You bet it is. Smashes the old record completely. Really shows how seriously the feds are taking this whole thing. I mean, think about it. $3 billion. That's more than twice what TD Bank made in profit from their entire U.S. operation last year.
So yeah, not just a drop in the bucket for them, but the punishment's got to be more than just money, right? What else are they facing?
Oh, absolutely. They've also got this growth cap slapped on them, which is pretty unusual and really harsh. Basically puts a limit on how much they can grow their U.S. business. No new branches, no new products, can't gobble up smaller banks.
Wow, so they're being put in time out, basically. Stopped from doing exactly what got them into trouble in the first place.
Exactly. And this is huge because TD Bank, they had big plans to really make a mark on the U.S. market. This throws a real wrench in those plans.
And to make sure they don't just go back to their old tricks, they're not just being trusted to behave, right?
Not a chance. On top of everything else, they've got this independent monitor breathing down their neck for the next 3 years. Full access to everything, checking their work, reporting back to the government.
Like a financial babysitter, making sure they don't try any funny business. But this whole thing, it makes you wonder, right? If a big established bank like TD Bank can slip up this badly, what does that say about the whole system? Are the rules just not strong enough to stop this kind of thing?
A lot of people are asking that very question. I mean, the TD Bank scandal, it's like shining a spotlight on the cracks in the system. Rules are great, but they can't catch everything. We need to be smarter, more proactive, and frankly, the culture inside these banks needs a serious reality check.
So not just tougher rules, but a change from the inside out, right? Making sure everyone's taking this stuff seriously.
Exactly. Compliance can't just be something you check off a list. It's got to be part of the DNA of these institutions. Employees need to feel like they can speak up if something's off without fear of getting in trouble.
Speaking of speaking up, did any of the sources mention how this whole thing even came out in the open? Was it a whistleblower, someone on the inside?
You know, the exact details of how the investigation started, those are still a little fuzzy. But reading between the lines, it seems pretty likely someone inside TD smelled something rotten and decided to do the right thing.
Makes you wonder how much more is going on that we don't know about. This case raises some really unsettling questions about the whole financial world, What can actually be done to stop this from happening again, whether it's TD Bank or someone else entirely?
That's the big question, isn't it? One thing's for sure. We need way more transparency, way more accountability from the whole financial industry. Regulators can't just sit back and wait for something to go wrong. They need to be proactive, spotting those red flags early on and holding these institutions' feet to the fire.
So more checks and balances, making sure those alarm bells are impossible to ignore, but it's not all on the government, right?
Not at all. Financial institutions, they need to step up too. Build a culture of compliance from the CEO all the way down to the tellers. Rewarding good behavior, not just sweeping bad behavior under the rug.
No more looking the other way, no matter how profitable that might seem at the time. But why should the average person listening to this care? It's easy to think this is just a victimless crime, right? Rich people moving money around doesn't really affect me.
That's a dangerous way to think about it, honestly. Money laundering, it's not victimless at all. It fuels organized crime, terrorism. It throws sand in the gears of the entire financial system.
So not just a few shady deals, but something that can actually impact all of us.
Absolutely. When billions of dollars are being laundered, it creates an uneven playing field, gives criminals an advantage, hurts legitimate businesses. Eventually, those costs trickle down to all of us.
So when you say it impacts all of us, what does that actually look like? Give me a real-world example.
Okay, so think about it this way. Money laundering, it can mess with everything. The price of stuff at the store could be artificially high because of money laundering schemes. Housing market going crazy. Money laundering could be playing a part. It can even make it tougher for honest businesses to compete, which means people lose their jobs.
So it's like we all feel the effects, even if we don't realize what's causing them. And in this day and age, with everything going digital, how do we even wrap our heads around stopping something as big and complicated as money laundering? It feels like trying to catch smoke.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, no doubt. But going digital, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Makes it easier for the bad guys to move money around, sure, but it also gives the good guys new tools to track them. We're talking artificial intelligence, a powerful data analysis. That kind of stuff can spot patterns and red flags in mountains of data way faster than any human ever could.
So it's like a tech race, both sides trying to outsmart each other in the digital world. But what about us, just regular folks? What can we actually do to protect ourselves?
Honestly, knowledge is power. The more you understand about how money works, how the whole system operates, the better equipped you are to protect yourself.
So it's not enough to just balance your checkbook. You need to be paying attention to the bigger picture too.
Exactly. Don't just trust that everything's on the up and up. Ask questions. Demand transparency.
So not about being scared, but being informed, engaged.
Exactly. If this whole TD Bank thing teaches us anything, is that we're all in this together. It's not just the government's job or the bank's job. It's on all of us to stay informed, stay vigilant.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, everyone, we've thrown a lot of information at you today, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a better understanding of just how important all this is. It's easy to think about financial crime as something that happens to other people, but the reality is it can touch all of our lives. So
Mhm.
stay curious, keep asking those tough questions, and never be afraid to demand better from the institutions that hold so much power in our world. Until next time, stay informed.